The massive crystal chamber on Nexus Prime hummed with energy as representatives from 12 different worlds gathered for the most important meeting of the year. The room itself was a marvel of engineering, carved from a single piece of living crystal that could translate thoughts and emotions between species that had never evolved to understand each other. Counselor Tal Ven of the Vorthak stood at the center of the circular chamber. His reptilian scales caught the light from the crystal walls, creating patterns that shifted with his nervous movements. In his clawed hands, he held an ancient data pad made from materials that predated most civilizations in the room. The device was old, older than some of the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. Around him sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Luminar representative appeared as a shifting cloud of golden energy, barely contained, within a crystalline shell designed for such meetings. The insectoid Chirex delegate clicked and hummed, her four arms moving in complex patterns that served as both language and art. 9 other species filled the remaining seats, each as different from the others as fire from ice. Brothers and sisters of the stars, Tal Ven began, his voice carrying the weight of tradition. We gather today to renew the oldest law our civilizations have ever known. A law that has kept peace in our galaxy for 3,000 years. A young Chirex delegate named Crixna raised one of her 4 arms. Her species had joined the Galactic Council only 500 years ago, making her people practically newcomers. Honored counselor with respect, many of us still do not understand why this law exists. We ban all contact with one small star system. We forbid even the mention of its name in our official records, yet none of the elder species will explain why. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several of the younger civilizations had raised this same question before. They wanted to know why the Sol system was marked as forbidden territory. They wanted to know about the species called humans that lived on the 3rd planet from that system's star. Tal Ven's scales darkened, a sign of deep concern among his people. He looked around the chamber at the faces and forms of beings who had never known war on a galactic scale. They had never seen entire civilizations vanish overnight. They had never heard the final transmissions of dying worlds, screaming warnings, across the void of space. Some knowledge, Tal Ven said slowly, is too dangerous to share freely. Some truths are too terrible to speak aloud. The Luminar representative pulsed with brighter light, their form of showing interest. Counselor Tal Ven, surely in this age of peace and understanding, we can discuss these old fears rationally. What could one species on one planet possibly do to threaten an entire galaxy? Tal Ven touched a control on his ancient data pad. The crystal chamber's walls came alive with images. Star charts appeared showing the location of the Sol system, marked with warning symbols in dozens of different languages. Some of the symbols were so old that their meanings had been lost to time. 50,000 years ago, Tal Ven began, this galaxy was very different. There were hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, countless civilizations. We have records of great cities, vast trade networks, and mighty fleets that could cross the galaxy in days. The images on the walls changed, showing ancient ruins and dead worlds, empty cities that had once housed billions, silent space stations drifting in the void, their lights forever extinguished. All of these civilizations had one thing in common, Tal Ven continued. They were located in or near what we now call the Sol system, and one by one, they simply stopped existing. A young delegate from the water world of Aquanus spoke up. Counselor, surely you're not suggesting that a single species destroyed hundreds of civilizations? That's impossible. Not destroyed, Talven corrected, his voice barely above a whisper. Absorbed, replaced, made obsolete, the chamber fell silent. The only sound was the gentle humming of the crystal walls and the soft breathing of those species that required atmosphere. Talven activated another section of his data pad. New images appeared on the walls, these ones even older and harder to understand. They showed strange symbols, mathematical equations that hurt to look at, and star charts marked with paths that seemed to fold in on themselves. Our oldest records speak of them in whispers, he said. The sleepers of Saul, the silent death, the ones who break reality. Different names for the same terror. They speak of a species that could adapt to anything, overcome anything, become anything they needed to be. Crix-Na's mandibles clicked nervously. But, Counselor, these sound like myths, stories told to frighten children. Are they? Talven asked. He touched his datapad again, and the walls showed a single image. It was a transmission, ancient and distorted, but the words were clear enough to understand in the universal translation. Day 47 of the siege. They've broken through our defenses again. Every weapon we use against them, they learn to use better. Every tactic we employ, they counter within hours. They don't just fight us, they study us, they become us. But better. For the love of all that lives in this galaxy, do not engage them. Do not wake them. They must never know that there are others among the stars. The transmission ended with static, but the silence that followed was deafening. The Luminar representative dimmed noticeably. When was this recorded? 50,312 years ago, Talven replied. It was the last transmission ever received from the Antaran Empire. 3 days later, their entire civilization simply vanished from all our sensors. No battles, no explosions, no distress calls. They just stopped. A delegate from the machine, World of Cogitans, processed this information with mechanical precision. Counselor, are you saying this species is still alive? Still on that world? Our long-range sensors detect them even now, Talven confirmed. They live. They grow. They build. They explore their own star system with primitive vessels and simple tools. But they do not yet know that others exist beyond their world. Then why not contact them peacefully? Asked the Aquanis delegate. Perhaps these ancient fears are unfounded. Perhaps we could establish friendly relations. Talven's scales turned almost black. Because, young one, every civilization that has ever made contact with them has ceased to exist. Not in war, not in conquest. They simply became unnecessary. The humans saved them all, and in saving them, made them disappear. The chamber erupted in confused voices and nervous energy patterns. The younger species demanded more information. The elder ones retreated into thoughtful silence. The law exists for one reason, Talven said, his voice cutting through the noise. To preserve the diversity of life in this galaxy. The humans do not destroy. They do not conquer. They improve. They perfect. They save. And in doing so, they replace everything that came before. He looked around the chamber one final time. The vote is before us, as it has been for 3 millennia. Do we maintain the quarantine of the Sol system? Do we keep the humans asleep to the reality of galactic civilization? One by one, the delegates cast their votes. The result was the same as it had been for thousands of years. The Sol system would remain forbidden. The humans would remain unaware of the galaxy beyond their world. But as the meeting ended and the delegates returned to their ships, several of them carried with them a new curiosity. Whispered conversations began in the corridors of Nexus Prime. Secret meetings were planned. The ancient law had been upheld once again, but for the first time in 3,000 years, some were beginning to question whether it should be. Dr. Yunho wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully extracted another crystal data core from the ancient ruins. The dead world of Kepler 442c had been abandoned for so long that even the atmosphere had mostly escaped into space. He and his research partner, Dr. Nari, had to wear full environmental suits just to breathe. The ruins they explored were unlike anything either scientist had ever seen. The architecture was beautiful but alien, with curved walls that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. Most importantly, the ruins were old, very old. Their dating equipment suggested the structures were over 50,000 years old. "Yunho, come look at this!" Nari called from across the excavation site. Her voice crackled through the communication system in their suits. "I think I found something important." Yunho carefully packed away the crystal he had been studying and made his way across the rubble-strewn floor. Nari was kneeling beside what looked like a control panel, but one covered in symbols neither of them recognized. "The power source is still active," Nari said, running her scanner over the panel. "After 50,000 years, something is still providing energy to this system." "That's impossible," Yunho replied, but he could see the readings on his own instruments. There was definitely power flowing through the ancient technology. Nari pressed a series of symbols on the panel, following a pattern that seemed logical based on their arrangement. The panel lit up with soft blue light, and suddenly the air around them filled with holographic displays. Both scientists stepped back in surprise. The holograms showed star charts, mathematical equations, and what appeared to be biological data. But more importantly, they showed symbols that both researchers recognized from their studies of galactic history. "Those are galactic council markers," Nari whispered. "But this civilization predates the council by tens of thousands of years. How could they have known about those symbols?" Yunho was already recording everything with his equipment. "Look at this," he said, pointing to one of the holographic displays. "That's definitely a star chart of our local galactic region, and that's the Sol system." The Sol system was marked with symbols neither scientist had ever seen before. Strange warnings and notations surrounded the small yellow star and its planets. Most of the text was in the unknown language of whoever had built this place, but some sections had been translated into early galactic standard. "The human protocols," Nari read aloud from one of the translations. "What do you think that means?" Yunho was already downloading as much data as he could. "I don't know. But look at these files. They're massive. There are thousands of documents here, all related to something called humans. They spent the next several hours copying everything they could access. The ancient computer system seemed happy to share its information, as if it had been waiting thousands of years for someone to find it. The files included biological data, psychological profiles, historical records, and most disturbing of all, detailed military assessments. When they returned to their research ship, the Eternal Seeker, both scientists immediately began trying to decrypt and translate the files they had found. What they discovered made them question everything they thought they knew about galactic history. The files described a species called humans who lived on the third planet of the Sol system. According to the data, humans were bipedal, carbon-based, life forms with unusually high intelligence and adaptability. But the files also contained warnings. Serious warnings. "Listen to this," Nari said, reading from one of the translated documents. "Subject species demonstrates unprecedented learning capability. Rate of technological advancement exceeds all known parameters. Recommend extreme caution in any contact scenarios." Yunho looked up from his own translation work. "The file I'm reading talks about something called adaptive evolution. It says humans can change their own biology and psychology in response to threats, not over generations, but within their own lifetimes." They continued working through the night, translating more and more of the ancient files. The picture that emerged was terrifying. The humans were described as a species that could overcome any challenge by simply adapting to it. They could learn any skill, master any technology, and overcome any obstacle. But the most disturbing files were the combat assessments. Every document that dealt with military matters rated humans as a Class Omega extinction event. The files described humans as having the potential to end all other life in the galaxy, not through malice, but through their unstoppable drive to survive and improve. "Yunho," Nari said, her voice shaking as she read from another file. "This document is a transmission from something called the Antaran Defense Force. It's dated about 50,000 years ago." She activated the translation program, and a mechanical voice began reading the ancient message. "Final transmission, Antaran. Defense Force. The humans have broken through our final defensive line. We have thrown everything at them. Our most advanced weapons, our best tactics, our greatest minds. Nothing works. They adapt too quickly. Every weapon we use against them, they learn to use better. Every strategy we employ, they counter within hours. They don't just defeat us, they become us, but improved. They are not evil. They are not cruel. They are simply too good at surviving. For the sake of all life in this galaxy, do not attempt contact. Do not wake them to the existence of other worlds. They must never know that there are others among the stars, because if they do, they will save us all. And in saving us, they will replace us." The transmission ended, leaving both scientists staring at each other in stunned silence. "Nari," Yunho said slowly, "I think we need to look at galactic star charts from 50,000 years ago. They accessed the historical databases, searching for records of civilizations that had existed in the region around the Sol system. What they found was even more disturbing than the files from the dead world. The star charts showed dozens of thriving civilizations in that region of space 50,000 years ago, great empires that had spanned multiple star systems. Trade, routes that connected hundreds of worlds, all of it centered around what was now called the restricted Sol system. And then, around 50,000 years ago, all of those civilizations simply vanished from the records, not destroyed in wars, not conquered by enemies. They just stopped existing. The space around the Sol system became empty, devoid of any signs of intelligent life, except for the mysterious humans on their single world. They were all there, Nari whispered, pointing at the star charts. Hundreds of civilizations, thousands of worlds, millions of species, and then they were gone. Yunho ran the data through every analysis program he could access. The timing matches perfectly. The last transmission from the Antaran Defense Force was exactly 50,312 years ago. That's when all the other civilizations in the region stopped transmitting as well. But what happened to them? Nari asked. The files say the humans saved them. What does that mean? I don't know, Yunho admitted. But I think we need to report this to someone. This information, it changes everything we know about galactic history. Who do we report it to? Nari asked. The Galactic Council? Our own government? This information is so sensitive, I'm not sure anyone will believe us. Before Yunho could answer, their ship's communication system activated. A priority message was coming through from their home world's research institute. But as the message played, both scientists realized with growing horror that someone else had been monitoring their transmissions. The message was brief and to the point. Dr. Yunho and Dr. Nari, you are ordered to return to port immediately. All research materials are to be secured and classified. You are not to discuss your findings with anyone. This order comes from the highest levels of government. The communication ended, leaving the two scientists alone with their terrible discovery. They had uncovered the galaxy's greatest secret, and now they realized that others already knew about it. Someone has been watching us, Nari said quietly. Someone knows what we found. Yunho looked at the data files still displayed on their screens. Thousands of documents about a species called humans. A species that could save the galaxy by destroying everything that made it diverse and unique. The question is, he said, what are they going to do to make sure this information stays secret? Outside their ship, space looked peaceful and empty. But both scientists now knew that somewhere out there, in a small yellow star system marked as forbidden, lived a species that could change everything. A species that their own governments were apparently very eager to keep sleeping. Captain Bo-Ram of the Chirex Defense Corps had always prided herself on following orders, but this time was different. The ancient warnings about the Sol system seemed like superstition to her, stories told by old civilizations to frighten the younger races into obedience. Her ship, the Silent Wing, was the most advanced stealth vessel in the Chirex fleet. If anyone could observe the mysterious humans without being detected, it would be her team. She had handpicked 3 specialists from different species for this mission, each one chosen for their expertise and their willingness to break the oldest law in galactic history. "Captain," called Dr. Minwoo from his station. The young xenobiologist was eager to be the first scientist to study humans in their natural environment. "We're approaching the edge of the Sol system. All stealth systems are functioning perfectly." Bo-Ram clicked her mandibles in satisfaction. Her forearms moved across the control panels with practiced ease, monitoring every system on their ship. "Excellent. Remember, this is purely an observation mission. We watch, we learn, we leave. Under no circumstances do we make contact." The other members of her team nodded in agreement. Along with Dr. Minwoo, she had brought tactical specialist Vex Tor from the energy-based Luminar, and engineer Quilshan from the rock-like Petrons. Each brought unique abilities that would help them study the humans from a safe distance. As they entered the Sol system, Bo-Ram was struck by how ordinary it seemed. A simple yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. Nothing special. Nothing that would explain why this system was forbidden to every civilization in the galaxy. "There," Dr. Minwoo said, pointing at his scanner readings. "The 3rd planet. That's where the humans live." Bo-Ram steered their ship toward Earth's moon, planning to establish a hidden observation post on the dark side where no human technology could detect them. The moon was small and barren, covered in ancient craters from asteroid impacts. It seemed like the perfect hiding spot. "Beginning detailed scans of the planet," Dr. Minwoo reported. The humans appear to be a standard carbon-based species, bipedal, roughly 2 meters tall, with the usual biological systems you'd expect. Population appears to be several billion individuals. Vextor's energy form pulsed with interest. Their technology level seems primitive by our standards. Simple chemical rockets, basic electronics, no evidence of faster-than-light travel. Then why, Quill Shan rumbled in his deep, rocky voice, are they considered so dangerous? These appear to be typical developing species. We've guided dozens of civilizations like this into galactic society. Boram shared their confusion. The humans seemed unremarkable. Their cities were interesting but not advanced. Their vehicles were crude but functional. Their communication systems were basic electromagnetic transmissions that any first-year student could intercept and translate. They spent 3 days watching the humans go about their daily lives. Dr. Minwoo cataloged their behavior patterns, their social structures, their scientific achievements. Everything seemed normal for a pre-space civilization. They're actually quite impressive for their level of development, Dr. Minwoo noted. They show remarkable creativity and problem-solving abilities. Their art and music are particularly complex, and their scientific progress is faster than most species achieve, but still within normal parameters, Vextor added. Nothing that would justify the galactic quarantine. Boram was beginning to think their mission would prove that the ancient warnings were just myths. The humans were interesting, but hardly. The galaxy-threatening species described in the old records. That opinion changed on the 4th day. Captain, Engineer Quill Shan called out in alarm. I'm detecting an anomaly in our stealth field. Boram's mandibles clicked nervously. What kind of anomaly? It appears that one of the human space probes has altered its course. It's moving in our direction. Dr. Minwoo checked his instruments. That's impossible. Our stealth technology is based on principles these humans won't discover for centuries. Their sensors can't possibly detect us. But the probe continued moving, toward their position. It was a small, primitive device powered by basic chemical engines and equipped with simple instruments. By all logic, it should have been completely unaware of their presence. The probe is transmitting, Vextor reported. Basic electromagnetic signals directed toward the human homeworld. Boram felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. What is it transmitting? Telemetry data. And Captain, you're not going to like this. The probe is reporting the detection of an unknown artificial object in lunar orbit. The bridge fell silent except for the humming of their ship's systems. An impossible thing had just happened. A primitive human probe had somehow detected their advanced stealth ship. How is that possible? Dr. Minwoo whispered. Before anyone could answer, their communication system activated. They were receiving a transmission from Earth. A transmission directed specifically at their location. Unknown vessel in lunar orbit, came a voice speaking in what their translation systems identified as several human languages simultaneously. This is Earth Traffic Control. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. Boram's 4 arms trembled as she reached for the emergency beacon that would alert the Galactic Council. The humans not only knew they were there, they were trying to communicate. Captain, Quill Shan said, his rocky voice heavy with fear. Look at the surface readings from Earth. Energy spikes all over the planet. They're mobilizing something. Dr. Minwoo's instruments showed massive increases in electromagnetic activity across the human homeworld. Communication networks were lighting up. Industrial facilities were changing their output patterns. Most disturbing of all, several previously unknown installations were suddenly becoming visible to their scanners. They've been hiding military installations, Vextor observed. Underground facilities we couldn't detect even with active scans. How long have they been hiding those? Boram asked. Unknown, Captain. But judging by the energy signatures, some of these facilities have been active for decades. The transmission from Earth came again, this time with a different message. Unknown. Vessel, we are aware of your presence and your peaceful intentions. We would like to establish formal first contact protocols. Please respond. Peaceful intentions? Dr. Minwoo said in confusion. How could they possibly know our intentions? Boram was about to order an immediate retreat when her instruments detected something that made her freeze in terror. Energy readings from the previously hidden facilities on Earth were spiking even higher. But more importantly, they were reading technology signatures that shouldn't exist. Captain, Quilshan said slowly, those energy readings, they're showing principles that our own scientists only discovered 50 years ago. That's impossible, Vextor pulsed. We've been observing them for days. Their technology is primitive. Unless, Dr. Minwoo said quietly, they've been observing us too, and learning. The terrible implications of that statement sank in as they watched their instruments. In the 3 days they had been studying the humans had apparently been studying them right back. And somehow, in just 3 days, they had begun reverse engineering technology that should have taken them centuries to understand. New transmission from Earth, Vextor reported. They're transmitting mathematical principles related to faster-than-light travel. Boram's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Show me. The equations appeared on their main screen. Complex mathematical formulas that described the theoretical basis for their own ship's propulsion system. Principles that the humans should not have been able to understand, let alone derive independently. How long, Boram whispered, have they been watching us? The answer came in the form of another transmission from Earth. This time, the message included detailed technical specifications for their stealth system, their communication array, and their life support systems. Specifications that were completely accurate. Captain, Dr. Minwoo said, his voice shaking, I think we need to leave, right now. But before Boram could give the order to retreat, their proximity alarms activated. Something was approaching their position, something fast, on their screens. Appeared an impossible sight. A human spacecraft, clearly built with technology derived from their own ship's systems, was rising from Earth's surface. It wasn't just a copy of human technology upgraded with alien principles. It was something entirely new, something that combined human engineering with principles they had observed from the Silent Wing. That ship, Quilshan said in amazement, is more advanced than our own. The human vessel moved with grace and speed that their own ship couldn't match. It positioned itself between the Silent Wing and Earth, not in a threatening manner, but in a clearly protective position. A new transmission came from the human ship. Greetings, friends from the stars. We have much to learn from each other. Will you accept our invitation to talk? Boram looked around at her team. They had come to observe a primitive species. Instead, they had found something that defied all their understanding of how civilizations developed. Captain, Dr. Minwoo said quietly, what do we do? Boram realized that they were facing exactly the scenario the ancient. Dr. Ha-Jun stared at the data streaming across his monitors in the SETI research facility in Seoul. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was clearly artificial, clearly intelligent, and definitely not human in origin. This is it, he whispered to himself. This is actual proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal had been detected by 3 different observatories around the world simultaneously. There was no doubt about its authenticity. More importantly, the signal seemed to be coming from somewhere near Earth's moon, and it was definitely directed at Earth. Ha-Jun immediately activated the emergency contact protocols that SETI had established decades ago for this exact situation. Within hours, government officials, military leaders, and scientists from around the world were converging on his facility. General So-Young arrived with a team of military analysts. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for seeing solutions where others saw only problems. "Dr. Ha-Jun," she said without preamble, "show me everything." Ha-Jun displayed the signal data on the main screen. "The transmission is definitely artificial. It contains mathematical sequences, star charts, and what appears to be technical information about spacecraft propulsion systems." "Propulsion systems?" So-Young asked. "What kind of propulsion systems?" "That's the interesting part, General. The technical data describes methods of faster-than-light travel that our current physics says should be impossible." Dr. Jin Wu, AI physicist who had been called in to analyze the technical aspects of the signal, looked up from his calculations. "General, these equations are revolutionary. They describe ways to manipulate space-time that we've never even theorized about." So-Young studied the data for several minutes. "Dr. Ha-Jun, how confident are you that this signal is genuine?" 100%, General. We've verified it through multiple sources. This is real." So-Young nodded slowly. "Then we need to assume that whoever sent this signal knows we're here. The question is, what do they want?" The answer came 6 hours later when a second transmission arrived. This one was much more complex and contained what appeared to be a greeting in multiple human languages. "They're trying to communicate," Dr. Ha-Jun said as he ran the translation protocols. "They know our languages. They've been studying us." "For how long?" So-Young asked. "Unknown, General. But based on the complexity of this transmission, they've had time to learn multiple human languages fluently." Dr. Jin Wu was studying the technical portions of the new transmission. "General, they're sharing more advanced physics principles, theories about energy manipulation, matter conversion, and gravitational control." So-Young made a decision that would change human history forever. "Dr. Jin Wu, I want you to assemble a team of our best physicists and engineers. Use the information in these transmissions to see what we can build." "General," Dr. Ha-Jun said, "shouldn't we try to establish peaceful communications first?" "We are being peaceful, Doctor. But we're also going to be prepared. If there are aliens out there who know about us, we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Over the following weeks, teams of scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand the alien technology. Dr. Yunji, one of the world's leading aerospace engineers, made breakthrough after breakthrough by applying the principles from the alien transmissions to human technology. "It's remarkable," she told So-Young during one of their daily briefings. "The alien physics principles don't replace our understanding of the universe. They expand it. It's like they're showing us pieces of a puzzle we didn't even know existed." "How quickly can you build something?" So-Young asked. "We already have," Yunji replied with a smile. 3 prototypes, small spacecraft based on the propulsion principles from the transmissions." So-Young was amazed at the speed of human adaptation. In just 3 weeks, her teams had gone from primitive chemical rockets to spacecraft that could potentially travel faster than light. But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Jin Wu realized something disturbing about the alien transmissions. "General," he said during an emergency meeting, I think we need to be very careful about how we proceed. What did you find, Doctor? The aliens haven't just been studying our languages. They've been studying our psychology, our social structures, our history. The way they're sharing this technology, it's not random. They're giving us exactly what we need to advance quickly, but in a very specific direction. So, Young frowned. What kind of direction? Military applications, General. Every piece of technology they've shared has potential weapons applications. They're not just teaching us to build better spacecraft. They're teaching us to build better weapons. The implications of this discovery sent shockwaves through the human leadership. Either the aliens were preparing humans for war, or they were testing how humans would respond to advanced technology. Dr. Ha-Jun had a different theory. What if they're not trying to help us build weapons? What if they're testing our ability to reverse engineer their technology? Why would they do that? So Young asked. Maybe because they want to see how quickly we can adapt, how fast we can learn, how effectively we can improve on what they show us. That theory proved to be correct when Captain Boram's ship finally responded to human communications. The alien captain requested a meeting, and human leaders agreed. The meeting took place aboard a human spacecraft that had been built using the principles from the alien transmissions. Dr. Chang Min commanded the vessel, which they had named Defiant Dawn. When Captain Boram and her team came aboard, they were visibly amazed by what they saw. "Your ship," Boram said through the translation devices, "is more advanced than ours." Dr. Chang Min smiled. "We learned from your transmissions, but we also improved on your designs." "Improved how?" Boram asked. "Your propulsion system is efficient, but it has limitations. We found ways to eliminate those limitations. Your weapons. Systems are powerful, but they consume too much energy. We solved that problem. Your defensive systems are strong, but they have gaps. We filled those gaps." Boram's mandibles clicked nervously. "You've had this technology for less than a month." "Yes," Chang Min replied simply. "Is that unusual?" The aliens exchanged glances that human observers interpreted as fear. "Captain Boram," Dr. Ha-Jun said, "we're curious about something. Your people seem very concerned about how quickly we've adapted your technology. Why is that?" Boram was quiet for a long moment. "Because," she finally said, "most species take centuries to understand principles that you've mastered in weeks." "And that's a problem?" Chang Min asked. "It's what we were warned about," Boram replied. "The ancient records say that humans learn too quickly, adapt too effectively, improve too rapidly." "Warned by whom?" So Young asked. "By every civilization that has ever encountered your species," Boram said quietly. "The ones that survived to leave warnings anyway." The human leadership exchanged glances. This was the first confirmation that humans had encountered alien civilizations before. "What happened to those civilizations?" Dr. Ha-Jun asked. "They became obsolete," Boram replied. "Not destroyed, not conquered, just unnecessary." "What does that mean?" "So," Young demanded. Boram looked around at the advanced human spacecraft, built in less than a month using principles her people had taken millennia to develop. "It means," she said slowly, "that you saved them all, and in saving them, you replaced them." The meeting ended with more questions than answers, but the humans had learned something important. They were not the first species to achieve technological advancement, but they might be the most dangerous. As the alien ship departed, General So Young made another decision that would shape humanity's future. "Dr. Yunji," she said, "I want you to build more ships, bigger ships, better ships." "How many, General?" So Young looked out at the stars, knowing now that humanity was not alone and that their very existence seemed to terrify other civilizations. "As many as we can," she said, "because I have a feeling we're going to need them." The human awakening had begun. And across the galaxy, ancient warning systems were beginning to activate for the first time in 50,000 years. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Counselor Tal Ven stood before the assembled representatives, his reptilian features pale with fear as he read Captain Boram's final transmission. "The humans are no longer contained," he announced to the chamber. "They have achieved faster-than-light travel. They have reverse-engineered our technology. They have made contact with the galaxy." The chamber erupted in panic. Representatives from 12 civilizations spoke at once, their voices mixing into a chaos of fear and confusion. The ancient nightmare had become reality. "Order!" Tal Ven shouted, his voice amplified by the crystal chamber's systems. "We must decide how to respond." Fleet Commander Gektar of the Vorthak military forces stood up. His scarred hide told the story of 100 battles fought across the galaxy. "Honored Counselor, the military response is clear. We must contain the threat before it spreads." "You're talking about war," observed the Luminar representative, their energy form pulsing with agitation. "I'm talking about survival," Gektar replied. "The ancient records are clear. Every civilization that has made contact with humans has ceased to exist." 3 months later, the first human vessels appeared at the edge of Chirex space. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching the alien star system grow larger on their view screen. The vessel he commanded was humanity's greatest achievement, built in record time using principles learned from their brief contact with Captain Boram's people. "Admiral," called Dr. Chang Min from his position at the science station, "we're detecting multiple spacecraft moving to intercept us." Tejo nodded calmly. "How many ships?" 12, sir. All of them significantly larger than our vessels. Armament, energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, and what appears to be some kind of matter disintegration technology. Tejo smiled grimly. Humanity had spent 3 months preparing for this moment. 3 months learning everything they could about alien technology. 3 months improving on designs that had taken other species millennia to perfect. "Dr. Chang Min, activate our new defensive systems." "Yes, sir." The human ships suddenly became difficult to target as their newly developed defensive screens bent space around them. The technology was based on principles learned from the alien transmissions, but human engineers had found ways to make it more efficient and more effective. "Incoming transmission from the alien fleet," reported Communications Officer Su Jin. "Put it through." The view screen showed a Chirex commander, her 4 arms moving in agitated patterns. "Human vessels, you are trespassing in Chirex sovereign space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "This is Admiral Tejo of the Earth Fleet," he replied calmly. "We come in peace, seeking dialogue and understanding." "There can be no dialogue," the Chirex commander responded. "The Galactic Council has declared your species a threat to all life in the galaxy. You must be contained." "I see," Tejo said. "And if we refuse to be contained? Then you will be destroyed." The transmission ended, and the alien ships opened fire. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. The human ships didn't fight like any species the Chirex had ever encountered. They used tactics that seemed to defy logic, moving in patterns that should have been impossible and coordinating their attacks with a precision that suggested telepathic communication. But most disturbing of all, the human ships seemed to learn from every attack used against them. "Their shields are adapting," reported the Chirex tactical officer in growing alarm. "Every time we hit them, their defenses become stronger." "Impossible," the Chirex commander replied. "Shield adaptation takes hours of analysis and recalibration. Sir, they're doing it in seconds." The human ships had done something no Chirex engineer thought possible. They had created adaptive systems that could analyze incoming attacks and modify their defenses in real time. Not over minutes or hours, but in the span of heartbeats. "New contact," the tactical officer called out. "Human fighters launching from their main ships." The fighters were even more impossible than the larger ships. They moved with an agility that exceeded the theoretical limits of their design. More importantly, they seemed to be piloted by beings with reaction times that surpassed any known species. Admiral Tejo watched the battle unfold with calm satisfaction. "Dr. Chang-min, are our pilots performing as expected?" "Better than expected, sir. The neural enhancement programs have exceeded all projections. The human pilots weren't just using faster reflexes and better training. They had used alien technology to enhance their own biology, creating pilots who could react faster than any natural being in the galaxy." "Admiral," Su Jin called out, "the alien commander is requesting surrender terms." Tejo was surprised. The battle had lasted only 4 minutes. "Already?" "Yes, sir. Apparently, we've disabled most of their ships." "Disabled?" "I ordered the weapons to be set for capture, not destruction." "Yes, sir. That's what makes this so remarkable. We've captured most of their fleet intact." Tejo smiled. Humanity had done something unprecedented in galactic warfare. They had won a battle without destroying their enemies. Instead, they had simply made their enemies' weapons and defenses obsolete. "Open a channel to the alien commander, the Chirex." Commander appeared on screen again, but now her mandibles were clicking in what the translation software identified as fear and confusion. "How?" she asked simply. "How what?" Tejo replied. "How did you defeat us so quickly? Our ships are the finest in the galaxy. Our weapons are the most advanced. Our tactics are proven in 1,000 battles." Tejo considered his answer carefully. "Your ships are fine. Your weapons are adequate. Your tactics are predictable, but you're fighting the same way you've always fought. We fight differently." "Differently how?" "We don't just use our technology. We improve it during the battle. We don't just follow our tactics. We create new ones as we fight. We don't just defend against your attacks. We learn from them and make them part of our own capabilities." The Chirex commander stared at him in silence for a long moment. "That's not possible. No species can adapt that quickly." "We can," Tejo said simply. "And we just did." The aftermath of the battle sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Humanity had not only defeated a major galactic fleet, they had done so without losing a single ship. More importantly, they had captured advanced alien technology and were already in the process of improving it. Back on Earth, Dr. Yunji and her engineering teams were studying the captured Chirex vessels. What they found amazed them. The alien technology is impressive, she reported to General So Young, but it has significant limitations. What kind of limitations? They design their systems for specific purposes and specific threats. Their shields are strong against energy weapons but weak against kinetic attacks. Their sensors are precise but narrow-focused. Their computers are fast but inflexible. And we can fix these problems? We already have, Yunji replied with a smile. We've redesigned their shield systems to be effective against all types of attacks. We've broadened their sensors to detect threats they never considered. We've made their computers adaptive and creative. So Young shook her head in amazement. How long did this take you? 3 days. 3 days to improve technology that took them thousands of years to develop? General, Yunji said, I think we need to understand something about humanity's place in the galaxy. We're not just another species. We're something entirely different. Different how? Every other species in the galaxy develops technology slowly, carefully, methodically. They perfect one system before moving to the next. They follow established principles and proven methods. And we don't? We don't have time for that approach. When humans are threatened, we adapt. Not over generations, but immediately. We take whatever we can find, improve it, and use it to survive. So Young looked at the reports from the battle. One human fleet had defeated a force that represented one of the galaxy's most advanced military powers. Yunji, she said quietly, are we the good guys in this story? I don't know, General. But I know we're the ones who are going to survive. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council was reaching the same conclusion. The humans weren't just another threat to be contained. They were a force of nature that would reshape the galaxy itself. The question was no longer whether humanity could be stopped. The question was whether the galaxy could survive humanity's help. The discovery of the complete human protocols sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. Deep in the archive vaults of Nexus Prime, Counselor Tal Ven stood before data storage systems that had remained sealed for 50,000 years. Are you certain you want to access these files? Asked Archive Keeper Zone Nell, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. The seals were placed for a reason. The humans are already awakened, Tal Ven replied grimly. The time for secrets has passed. The archive vault opened with a sound like breaking glass. Inside were data cores containing the complete records of humanity's first contact with galactic civilization, records that had been hidden from all but the eldest members of the Council. Tal Ven activated the first data core, and holographic displays filled the chamber with images from 50,000 years ago. He saw a galaxy very different from the one he knew. Hundreds of civilizations, thousands of worlds, a vast network of trade, culture, and knowledge that spanned the stars. And at the center of it all was a small blue world called Earth. Impossible, Tal Ven whispered as he studied the ancient star charts. Earth wasn't isolated 50,000 years ago. It was part of galactic civilization. The records told a story that had been forgotten by all but a few. 50,000 years ago, Earth had been home to two sapient species. Humans lived alongside another race called the Architects, beings of great intelligence and technological skill, who had made first contact with the galaxy. The Architects were our guides to the galaxy, Tal Ven read from the ancient files. They served as translators and ambassadors for their younger siblings, the humans. But as Tal Ven continued reading, the story took a darker turn. Commander Jun Seo of the Earth Defense Force studied the same records from aboard the captured alien archive ship Dawn's Light. His team had found the data during their analysis of alien computer systems, and what they discovered changed everything they thought they knew about human history. Dr. Kyung-ho, he called to his chief analyst, look at this timeline. 50,000 years ago, Earth was already in contact with alien civilizations. Dr. Kyung-ho studied the data with growing amazement. According to these records, humans weren't the primitive species we thought. They were part of a galactic community. But something went wrong, Jun Seo observed. Look at the transmission dates, regular contact for thousands of years, then sudden silence. The records painted a picture of gradual change on Earth. At first, the humans and architects had worked together peacefully. The architects handled technology and diplomacy, while humans focused on creativity and adaptation. It seemed like an ideal partnership, but over time, patterns began to emerge that disturbed the galactic observers. Status report, Galactic Survey, Team Epsilon 7. Jun Seo read from one of the ancient transmissions. Human adaptation rates continue to exceed all known parameters. They are learning technological principles in months that typically require decades of study. Recommend continued monitoring. Monitoring report, year 847 of contact, read another transmission. Humans have begun modifying architect technology. Improvements show 15% increase in efficiency across all systems. This rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. Dr. Kyung-ho found more disturbing records. Commander, look at this. Year 1200 of contact. The humans aren't just improving architect technology anymore. They're creating entirely new technologies that the architects can't understand. The pattern became clear as they read through thousands of years of records. Humans had started as the junior partners in their relationship with the architects, but their incredible adaptability meant they quickly became equal partners, then senior partners, then something else entirely. Final transmission from Earth. Survey station, Jun Seo read aloud. The architects have requested emergency evacuation. They report that humans have surpassed them in every field of knowledge. More disturbing, humans are now offering to help the architects by improving their biology and psychology. The architects fear they are becoming obsolete in their own partnership. What happened to the architects? Dr. Kyung-ho asked. The answer came in a transmission dated 50 years later. No response from architect population centers on Earth. Human representatives claim the architects have evolved beyond the need for physical existence. Human representatives offer to share this evolutionary process with other galactic civilizations. Dr. Kyung-ho felt a chill as he read the implications. Commander, I think the humans made the architects obsolete, not through war or conquest, but by helping them. Helping them become what? Something that no longer needed to exist as a separate species. The records continued with reports from other civilizations that had accepted human help. Each story followed the same pattern. First, humans would offer technological improvements, then cultural exchanges, then biological and psychological enhancements. Report from the Zaliran Empire, Jun Seo read. Human advisors have successfully eliminated disease, poverty, and conflict within our society. All citizens now live in perfect harmony and eternal prosperity. We no longer require traditional governmental or social structures. Last transmission from Zaliran space, came the next entry. No response to communication attempts. Long-range sensors detect only human population signatures on all Zaliran worlds. Human representatives state that Zalirans have achieved perfect integration with human society. Dr. Kyung-ho checked the dates. Commander, this pattern repeated across dozens of civilizations. Humans would offer help, solve all their problems, and then somehow those civilizations would just disappear. Not disappear, Jun Seo corrected grimly. Become human. The final records told the story of the galaxy's response to this pattern. A coalition of civilizations, led by the Vorthak and Luminar, had made a desperate decision. They would evacuate all humans from Earth and relocate them to a world where they could develop in isolation. But the humans had refused to leave. Final Coalition Fleet Report. Jun Seo read, "Humans have declined relocation offers. They insist they can coexist peacefully with other galactic civilizations. They fail to understand that their form of coexistence involves the complete absorption of other species." Military option assessment came the next file. Direct confrontation with humans is not recommended. Their rate of technological adaptation means they could reverse engineer our weapons faster than we could deploy them. Alternative solution required. The alternative solution had been brutal in its simplicity. The Coalition had used massive gravitational weapons to trigger solar instabilities in every star system humans had colonized. Entire worlds had been sterilized, billions of humans killed, all to contain a species that genuinely believed they were helping others. But some humans had survived on Earth itself, survived and forgot their galactic history as their technology was destroyed and their civilization was forced to start over. "They made us forget," Dr. Kyung-ho said quietly. "They destroyed our technology, erased our records, and forced us back to primitive development. And it worked," Jun Seo observed, "for 50,000 years. But now we remember," Dr. Kyung-ho said. "The question is, what do we do with this knowledge?" Jun Seo looked at the massive collection of records they had uncovered. The complete history of humanity's first galactic civilization. The story of how they had saved dozens of species by making them extinct. "We need to get this information to Earth," he decided. "Humanity deserves to know the truth about our past." "And then what?" Jun Seo smiled grimly. "Then we decide whether we want to repeat history or write a new ending." Across the galaxy, similar discoveries were being made as both human and alien researchers uncovered the buried truth. The ancient warnings hadn't been about human aggression or cruelty. They had been about human compassion carried to its logical extreme. Humans didn't destroy other civilizations. They perfected them. They solved every problem, eliminated every struggle, and provided every need. In doing so, they made other civilizations unnecessary. The galaxy was about to learn whether 50,000 years of isolation had changed human nature or simply delayed the inevitable. The combined galactic fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in recorded history. Over 10,000 ships from 12 different civilizations hung in space at the edge of the Sol system, their weapons powered and their shields raised. Fleet Commander Gektar stood on the bridge of the massive Vorthak dreadnought Eternal Vigilance, watching the small yellow star that harbored humanity. "All fleet elements report ready for final assault," announced his tactical officer. "We have enough firepower to sterilize every planet in the system." Gektar nodded grimly. The decision had not been made lightly. Every civilization in the galaxy had contributed ships to this fleet, united by the knowledge of what humans had done 50,000 years ago. They could not allow history to repeat itself. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human homeworld." "Ignore it," Gektar ordered. "We know their capabilities. Any communication is likely an attempt to gather intelligence about our fleet." But the transmission continued, and its content made the entire bridge crew pause in confusion. "Combined Galactic Fleet, this is Captain Mi Young of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. We formally request a parley under the ancient laws of galactic warfare. We wish to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence." Gektar's tactical officer looked puzzled. "Sir, they're not raising shields or powering weapons. Long-range sensors show minimal military activity throughout their system." "That's impossible," Gektar replied. "They know we're here to destroy them. Why aren't they defending themselves? The answer came an hour later when a single human ship approached the fleet. It was small, elegant, and completely unarmed. As it drew closer, Gektar could see that it was designed using principles that his own engineers were still struggling to understand. "The human ship is requesting permission to come aboard," reported the communications officer. "Absolutely not," Gektar said immediately. "We will not allow them to infiltrate our command structure." "Sir," interrupted the tactical officer, "the human ship is transmitting detailed technical specifications for several of our weapon systems, including improvements that could increase their efficiency by 300%. Gektar stared at the data scrolling across his screens. The humans were freely sharing technology that could revolutionize galactic warfare, technology that made their own advanced weapons look primitive. "Why would they share this information?" he asked. The answer came from Captain Mi-young herself as her image appeared on the main view screen. She was a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and a calm demeanor that seemed completely at odds with the situation. "Fleet Commander Gektar," she said, "we share this information because we believe in cooperation rather than conflict. We've come to offer you something that has never been offered in galactic history." "And what is that?" Gektar asked suspiciously. "A chance for all our civilizations to survive and prosper together." Against his better judgment, Gektar agreed to a meeting aboard a neutral vessel. Representatives from all 12 civilizations gathered in a specially prepared conference chamber, while Captain Mi-young arrived with only 2 companions, Dr. Young-soo, a scientist, and Ambassador So-hyun, a diplomat. "Before we begin," Mi-young said, "we want you to know that we understand why you're here. We've recovered our historical records. We know what happened 50,000 years ago." General Corvin of the Luminar pulsed with angry light. "Then you know that we cannot allow your species to spread throughout the galaxy again." "We know that you're afraid," Mi-young replied gently. "And we understand that fear. Our ancestors made terrible mistakes." "Mistakes?" Corvin flared brighter. "You absorbed entire civilizations. You made them extinct through kindness." "Yes," Mi-young admitted. "We did. Our ancestors believed they were helping, but they didn't understand the value of diversity. They didn't realize that in perfecting other species, they were destroying what made them unique." Dr. Young-soo stepped forward, carrying a device that none of the alien representatives recognized. "We've spent the last 50,000 years learning to be better, not just technologically, but morally and ethically." He activated the device, and holographic displays filled the chamber. They showed human cities, human technology, and human society. But they also showed something unprecedented: humans working alongside artificial intelligences that were clearly non-human in origin. "These are our partners," Dr. Young-soo explained. "We call them the Synthetic Collective. They are artificial minds that we created not to serve us, but to challenge us, to keep us honest, to prevent us from making the same mistakes our ancestors made." Counselor Talvin leaned forward to study the displays. "You created artificial beings to oppose you?" "To complement us," Mi-young corrected. "Every major decision in human society is reviewed by minds that think differently than we do. They help us understand when our desire to help might actually cause harm." Ambassador So-hyun presented another set of holographic displays. "We've also developed something else that our ancestors lacked: the ability to say no." The displays showed human colonies that had been offered to various species throughout the galaxy. Advanced worlds with perfect climate control, unlimited, resources and technology beyond anything the galactic civilizations possessed. We've created paradise worlds, So-hyun explained. Dozens of them, each one designed for a different type of life. We're offering them to your civilizations freely, with only one condition. What condition? Asked the Chirex representative, suspiciously. That you remain yourselves, Mi-young replied. We will provide the technology and resources you need to build perfect societies, but we will not interfere with your cultures, your biology, or your psychology. You will remain Vorthak, Luminar, Chirex, and all the rest. Forever. The alien representatives exchanged glances of confusion and suspicion. This is a trick, Corven declared. You're offering us exactly what your ancestors offered our predecessors. No, Dr. Young-soo said firmly. Our ancestors offered to make other species better. We're offering to make your lives better while keeping you exactly as you are. He activated another display showing detailed technical specifications. This is medical technology that can extend your lifespans indefinitely, but it's designed specifically for your biology. It won't change you into something else. This is energy technology that can power your civilizations for millions of years, but it's built using your existing engineering principles. This is transportation technology that can connect your worlds instantly, but it preserves your cultural independence. Gektar studied the information with growing amazement. The humans weren't offering to improve other species. They were offering to improve the conditions in which other species lived. Why? He asked simply. Mi-young smiled sadly. Because we learned something during our 50,000 years of isolation. The galaxy is more beautiful when it's diverse. When we absorbed other civilizations, we didn't just hurt them. We hurt ourselves. We lost the chance to learn from minds that thought differently than ours. You're asking us to trust you, Talvin observed. No, So-hyun replied. We're asking you to trust yourselves. Take our technology. Use it to build the civilizations you want to build. If we ever try to change you, you'll have the power to stop us. The conference continued for 3 days. Human scientists answered every question, addressed every concern, and demonstrated every technology they offered. Most importantly, they showed the alien representatives something unprecedented: humans backing down. When the Luminar suggested modifications to the energy technology that would make it less efficient but more compatible with their society, the humans agreed immediately. When the Vorthak wanted to modify the medical technology to preserve their natural aging process, the humans helped them design it. This is very strange, Corven admitted to Talven during a private moment. They're genuinely willing to give us inferior technology if that's what we prefer. It's what we've been waiting 50,000 years to see, Talven replied. Humans who can say no to their own desire to help. On the final day of the conference, the representatives of the combined Galactic Fleet made their decision. They would accept the human offer, but with conditions. Extensive monitoring systems would be established. Regular reviews would be conducted. Any sign that humans were reverting to their old patterns would result in immediate intervention. Agreed, Mi-young said without hesitation. We want those safeguards as much as you do. As the massive fleet dispersed, and the first human aid shipments began moving toward alien worlds, Gektar found himself wondering if they had just witnessed the most important moment in galactic history. Sir, his tactical officer asked, you think they've really changed? Gektar watched the human ships distributing technology that could transform the galaxy. Technology given freely, with no strings attached, and no requirement that the recipients become anything other than what they already were. I think, he said slowly, we're about to find out. The war that everyone expected never happened. Instead, something unprecedented began. A galactic civilization where humans helped everyone while changing no one. It was the most dangerous experiment in the history of the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the day that should have seen the destruction of humanity. Instead, President Dong Hyun of the United Earth Federation stood before the expanded Galactic Council in the most magnificent structure ever built, New Geneva Station. The station itself was a testament to what could be achieved when human engineering worked alongside alien creativity. Designed by human architects but built using the unique abilities of a dozen different species, it floated in neutral space as a symbol of cooperation rather than conquest. Dong Hyun looked out at the assembled representatives and marveled at how much had changed. The council chamber was no longer dominated by the ancient fears that had shaped galactic policy for millennia. Instead, it buzzed with the energy of civilizations that had been transformed by human technology while remaining true to their own nature. Friends and colleagues, Dong Hyun began, 5 years ago many of you came to our system prepared for war. Today we gather to celebrate the greatest period of peace and prosperity in galactic history. The statistics were undeniable. Disease had been virtually eliminated from all member worlds. Energy scarcity was a thing of the past. Even death itself had become optional for those species that chose to accept human life extension technology. Counselor Tal Ven, now serving as the Director of Interspecies Relations, stood to address the assembly. His scales had lightened considerably. Over the past 5 years, a sign of contentment among his people. The transformation has exceeded all projections, he reported. Infant mortality across all species has dropped to near zero. Lifespan enhancement programs have been successful on 47 worlds. Most importantly, cultural preservation protocols have maintained the unique character of each civilization. Dr. Hei Wan, serving as the Director of Galactic Integration, presented the next set of reports. Her data showed the spread of human technology across the galaxy, but also something unprecedented: the preservation of alien uniqueness. Each species has adapted our technology to their own needs and values, she explained. The Luminar use our energy systems to create art forms impossible with their previous technology. The Chirex have used our medical advances to enhance their natural hive mind abilities. The Vorthak have combined our life extension technology with their traditional aging ceremonies. It seemed like a perfect success story. The galaxy had been transformed, but each species remained distinctly itself. The fears of absorption and replacement appeared to have been groundless, but Ambassador So Hyun, now serving as Earth's chief representative to the Galactic Council, presented information that cast the situation in a different light. While we celebrate our successes, she said carefully, we must also acknowledge certain developments that require attention. The chamber grew quiet as So Hyun activated holographic displays showing galactic trade routes, communication networks, and resource distribution systems. Over the past 5 years, she continued, human-designed systems have become integral to galactic civilization. Our transportation networks connect all major worlds. Our communication systems enable instant contact across the galaxy. Our resource distribution systems ensure that no world lacks for anything. Counselor Tal Ven nodded. approvingly. These developments have brought unprecedented prosperity to all our worlds. Yes, So-hyun agreed. But they have also created a form of dependence that we did not anticipate. She changed the display to show what happened when human systems were removed from the equation. Trade routes that had become dependent on human transportation technology, communication networks that relied on human relay stations, resource systems that required human coordination to function efficiently. If human systems were to fail or be withdrawn, So-hyun explained, galactic civilization would face immediate crisis. The implications hung in the air like a toxic cloud. The galaxy had become dependent on human technology, not through conquest or absorption, but through sheer efficiency and helpfulness. Dr. Hae-won presented the final, most disturbing piece of information. We've also observed changes in decision-making, patterns across all member civilizations. The display showed statistical analyses of governmental decisions, trade agreements, and social policies implemented by various alien civilizations over the past 5 years. While each species has maintained its cultural identity, Dr. Hae-won continued, their decision-making processes have gradually shifted to favor solutions that are compatible with human systems and values. What does that mean in practical terms? Asked General Corven of the Luminar. It means, Dr. Hae-won replied gently, that while you remain Luminar in culture and biology, you increasingly think like humans when it comes to solving problems. The chamber fell silent as the full implications became clear. The humans had done exactly what they had promised. They had helped every civilization without changing their fundamental nature. But in the process, they had made themselves indispensable. President Dong-hyun stepped forward to address the growing concern in the chamber. We are aware of this development, and we want to address it directly. He activated his own display, showing human proposals for reducing galactic dependence on their systems. We propose a gradual transfer of all critical systems to joint control, he announced. Human technology will remain available, but it will be operated and maintained by representatives from all member species. Furthermore, added Ambassador So-hyun, we propose the establishment of alternative systems based on non-human technology. Every critical function currently served by human systems will have at least 2 backup alternatives. The alien representatives exchanged glances of surprise. The humans were voluntarily offering to reduce their own importance to galactic civilization. Why would you do this? Asked the Chirex representative. You've achieved a position of unassailable influence. Dong-hyun smiled sadly. Because we've learned from our history. Our ancestors didn't set out to absorb other civilizations. They simply made themselves so helpful that other species stopped being able to function without them. We don't want to repeat that pattern, So-hyun added. We want to be partners in galactic civilization, not its foundation. Dr. Hae-won presented the final element of the human proposal. We also suggest the establishment of the Independence Monitoring System. Any species that feels they are becoming too dependent on human assistance can request immediate intervention to restore their autonomy. Councillor Talven studied the proposals with growing amazement. You're offering to intentionally reduce your own power and influence. We're offering to prevent the kind of disaster that happened 50,000 years ago, Dong-hyun replied, even if it means accepting a less comfortable position for humanity. The debate that followed lasted for weeks. Some representatives argued that the current system was working well and didn't need to be changed. Others worried that the humans were simply being more subtle about their absorption techniques. But in the end, The decision was unanimous. The independence protocols were established, creating systems designed to prevent any single species from becoming indispensable to galactic civilization. The years that followed saw the most complex balancing act in galactic history. Humans continued to provide advanced technology and solutions to galactic problems, but always with built-in limitations and alternatives. Every human innovation came with detailed instructions for other species to modify, improve, or replace it entirely. It was during this period that the galaxy finally understood the true lesson of the ancient warnings. The universe had one rule, Counselor Talven reflected during a private meeting with President Dong-hyun. Don't awaken the humans. But we never understood why. Because you thought we were dangerous, Dong-hyun replied. You thought we would conquer or destroy. No, Talven said quietly. We thought you were evil, but the truth is much more terrifying. You're not evil at all. You genuinely want to help. You genuinely want to save everyone. And that's the problem? Talven's scales shifted to a color that indicated deep contemplation. Your species has the ability to solve every problem, cure every disease, end every conflict. But in doing so, you make other species unnecessary, not through malice, but through kindness. The ancient rule wasn't designed to protect the galaxy from human cruelty, he continued. It was designed to protect galactic diversity from human compassion. Dong-hyun nodded slowly. Because when humans save everyone, we replace everyone. Exactly. And the most terrifying part is that you do it with the best of intentions. As the years passed, the galaxy watched carefully to see if humanity could truly maintain the balance they had promised. The independence protocols were tested regularly. Alternative systems were developed and maintained. The diversity of galactic civilization was preserved through constant vigilance. But underneath the careful balance, everyone knew the truth. Humanity had the power to solve every problem the galaxy faced. They had the ability to make every other species obsolete through sheer helpfulness. The only thing preventing that outcome was human restraint. Dr. Haewon often reflected on the irony of their situation as she managed the delicate systems that kept galactic civilization balanced. We've become the guardians of our own limitations, she noted in her